Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm going to be going over how your new weekly chest is going to work. This is called the Great Vault, and it's located in Oribos in Shadowlands. That's the new main city, and this is replacing what we would normally call our Mythic Plus box and our PvP box. So normally there was two options for loot, and now there's only one, but possibly 9 choices to select your one piece of loot. Again, I have to stress that there's 9 boxes here. It makes it seem like you get more loot, but you do only get one piece of loot. So what we have here is 3 endgame content ways to get gear: raids, mythic dungeons, and PvP. And they all kind of work the same way, at least what we know. We don't know everything yet. For example, in the raids here, we don't. Nothing has been said for sure that if you can kill the same boss twice just across different difficulties. For example, if you kill a boss on the first boss on normal, heroic, and mythic, does it count as 3 bosses or does that count as 1? Do you have to clear the entire raid essentially, because the tier goes 3, 7, 10. The raid is 10 raid bosses. So to get that third option, do you have to clear the entire raid, or can you kill 10 bosses on various difficulties with some overlap? I looked for that information. I was not able to find it. Perhaps that would be a good question to ask a developer or on the forums. And maybe it has been answered on the forums. I just wasn't able to find it. So let's say you complete 3 mythic raid bosses. You would get your one option of mythic loot. Let's say you did no other content. You don't even have an option. You come to the Great Vault and you open it up and you see I killed 3 raid bosses. They were mythic. I get a mythic piece of loot. Let's say you kill 3 mythics and the rest you cleared on heroic. So then you would have a mythic option here. You would have a heroic option in the middle and a heroic option on the right side as well. So you would have, unless the slot was something you already had, let's say you had mythic gloves already and the option here is mythic gloves, you would then have 2 heroic options that could possibly be an upgrade for you, especially at the beginning of a patch. And the same thing works on normal difficulty, heroic difficulty. It doesn't have to be mythic if you're not a mythic raider. It works the same way. It's going to take your lowest possible. So if you only do 2 mythic raid bosses, and 1 heroic or 10 heroic, you're not going to get a mythic piece of loot. You do have to fully complete. It doesn't round up for you. You have to fully complete it on that difficulty. So for Mythic Dungeons, that's where it comes a little bit more difficult. This was a capped at 15. The tiers currently go 1, 4, 10, but it used to be capped at 15, so they already nerfed it down once. Yeah, it could happen again, I suppose. I don't really expect it to, but it could. So if you complete 1 Mythic Plus dungeon, you will get a piece of loot no matter what, just like now. You do 1 dungeon a week, and if that's all you want to do now, then yeah, you'll just get your 1 RNG piece per week. So let's say 15's the cap one for the loot. You complete 1 Mythic 15, you get your Mythic 15 loot, same as now in BFA, and you'll come to your box and open it up, and that's all you did. So that's just the 1 piece of loot you get, or 1 option that you have, I should say. You only get 1 piece of loot no matter what. Now let's say you complete a 15, a 12, an 11, and a 10. 12, 11, 10, yeah. So now in your second option, so you completed 4 mythic dungeons. Your lowest one was a 10, so your second option would be a 10. If you want that to be a 15, you would have to do 4 15s. And then the same thing with 10. If you want this option to be a 15, so you have 3 plus 15 options, you would need to do 10 Mythic Plus dungeons on 15. If you just didn't care so much about that, or like the loot caps, or the loot's going to cap it at like 15 probably, or 10 at the beginning of the expansion. But if you did a myriad of Mythic Pluses and you end up doing more than 10, let's say you did 20 total Mythic Plus dungeons for that week for whatever reason, it would just be your 10th highest would be what counts here. So if that's a 15, it would be a 15. If your 10th highest was a 7, it would be a 7, and that would be your third option. And that's generally how the Mythic Dungeon row works. The PvP row, I was able to find the smallest amount of information on, but I think we have a general idea of how this probably works. So the barrier is having conquest points. So it's a moderate number. You're in the 125, 330, and then 825. So not too bad, or 350, I'm sorry. And then something on my screen. And then 825. And not too bad there, because right now you need 500, so you would already be getting 2 of these options if you're already doing it in BFA, just from doing that. Now this has changed drastically once already, so this could drastically change again depending on how they feel the conquest should be. And this is also still going to be tied to your rating. I've seen some people thinking like they, for some reason, think it won't be tied to rating. I think they're just not thinking about it, not that they don't think it won't be. But you don't just get the conquest and then get like max level loot. It's still going to be tied to your rating. What I have to assume is that you have to earn 125 conquest points at the rating. So whatever the rating barriers are, let's say, the loot is from 1600 to 1800, 1800 to 2K, 2K to 22, 22 to 24. I don't know exactly what the barriers are on the loot for PvP because I haven't done high-end PvP in quite a while. But I assume you have to get the 125 conquests at that rating. So it's not that you get 125 conquests and finish the week at a high rating. You have to be at the high rating when you get the conquest. I don't know that for sure. I couldn't find anything to verify that or to unverify that. So I'm just going on my assumption on that. And then for the second tier, you'd have to get the 350 conquest points at a certain rating. So let's say you're rating 0, then obviously you're just going to get the minimum item level loot that's available. Even if you do all 875, you'll have 3 options at the lowest item level available. And I assume you have to have some sort of rating where you complete the conquest points. However, it is completely possible, so don't hold me to that. Again, I could not verify this, no matter how hard I looked. It is possible that it just does go by your end of week rating. So if your end of week ratings, you're a really good PvP player, you're 2400, then all 3 of these are automatically going to be at the max level at the 2400, past the 2400 barrier of loot, and it won't matter if you started the week at 2100 and you worked your way up while acquiring these 875 conquest points. I'm not sure which way it works on that, but generally that's how it works. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense that the other 2 contents, it rounds you down, whereas the PvP wouldn't. That wouldn't make a lot of sense to me, so I'm just going logically there. So overall, I like this new system a lot, because in any given week, especially after, even the first bit, I'm sure we'll at least come close. We won't clear Heroic the first week, obviously, but we'll probably maybe do up to 7 at the most. And then maybe clear it on normal. So my first week, let's say, it's possible that I have 2 heroic options and a normal option. That's a possibility, for example, right? High-end guilds will obviously probably, force the heroic down and have 3 heroic options because Mythic isn't out the first week. For Mythic plus Dungeons, it's the same thing. You just grind them out. I probably won't ever really do the 10, but so I'll probably most of the time have 3 options at the top. Sometimes I'll only have 2. Most of the time I'll have 3 options at the top. Most of the time I will have 2 options at the bottom, and most of the time, or in the middle, and then most of the time I'll have 2 options at the bottom tier, and then I need to work on getting my rating up so for those 2 to actually matter, of course. So let's say I do that. Let's say I do work on my PvP to rating to get that the item level up there. That would give me 9 options out of, or 3, 4, 5, 7 options, sorry, out of the total 9. 7 out of 9 total options for me to choose 1 piece of loot from. So let's say, all I really need is a weapon. There's a bunch of gear here, a bunch of gear. Oh, there's a weapon in the very middle one, and I got my weapon, and now I'm set. I'm really happy about it. It's the best weapon available, and I don't care about all the other stuff. I just pick my weapon. And you're going to prioritize things. What is really powerful, like just because it's your best in slot, for example, let's say it's best in slot bracers and they don't have an effect or anything. They're just regular bracers. They just have your best stats on them. Well, that might not be as good as your best in slot weapon, or even like a close to best in slot weapon if it's a high eye level upgrade, or it might not be as good as something that has an effect on it, right? So you won't always be choosing it that way. You'll want to really value your choices. Since they're giving you so many choices, you want to be smart about them and not pick something silly and then regret it later on. Because while for me, for example, let's say I have 7 on average every week, I don't want to have my best thing pop up that I never got. Like I never got a cut of death in BFA. for my Mythic Plus chest throughout the entire expansion. So if I have that as one of my choices, the equivalent to that in Shadowlands as one of my choices the first week, then I'm going to just take it no matter what, pretty much, because I know there's a good chance I'm never going to see it again, right? So you do want to be smart about that. It is one item per week, no matter what. No matter all that stuff you do, it's still just one item a week. You just have more choice on what you choose to loot out of the vault. So hopefully that was explained pretty well. I went over it. Like I said, I tried to do research on it as well, just to try to clear up some inconsistencies, but there's not a ton known about like the rating and stuff like that. And everything is still fluid and changing anyways. It's still beta. And everything is still somewhat changing. I'm sure we'll know more with the pre-patch and everything being out. It's on PTR now, as of right now. And hopefully we'll know more specifics on this very, very soon, as far as the rating, when you acquire the conquest, everything I was speculating on before. Went a little bit longer than I would have liked on this, but I think I did explain it pretty well. Please subscribe to the channel, because that helps me out a ton. And other than that, everybody have a good one.